Welcome to the Tournament Center. I'm Randy Buehler here with Brian David Marshall.
Hey.
We've just watched the 4th draft of Pro Tour-Geneva. So 9 rounds in the books, 6 to go to find out who's going to go to Sunday, who's going to play for the Pro Tour-Geneva title. That was a fun table.
It was a fun table. We had a choice to cover the top table,
right,
or to cover a table full of players who were at
6 and 3.
6 and 3.
So
these are all players fighting for their tournament lives. The decisions they make in this draft will determine whether or not they have a shot at making the top
really
8.
crunch time. If you take a look at the table, you get to see a sense of, these guys, Luis Scott Vargas, Rich Hohen, Andre Mueller, these guys are on the bubble. Right. They've got to put a run together.
Right. We also had David Larson at the table, Rio Agora.
Yeah, it was a good table.
Rob Daugherty, Hall of Famer.
A bit of a surprise that he's sitting in contention with 6 rounds to go. But yeah, he's got his game together. He's having a lot of fun.
Right. Rob Daugherty was actually feeding Rich Hohen
right there. Now, you watched Rich Hohen's draft. What happened? How did it go?
It was interesting, actually. I talked to Rich after the draft. He opened up his first pack, and I thought it's one of the things Rich does when he opens up a pack is he sorts through and puts all the cards in sort of order. So you get this sense of Rich's pick orders from looking at it. So he opened up a pack that had such cards as Fathom Seer, Strangling Soot, Feebleness, Gemahide Sliver, Prismatic Lens, and Celestial Crusader. And those are the 6 cards he identified as being the best cards in the pack.
Reasonable.
And he had Celestial Crusader 5th.
Okay.
With Prismatic, I think Feebleness in 6th place.
Okay.
You had Prismatic Lens ahead of Celestial Crusader.
I hear you.
It's kind of interesting. Normally, he would take Fathom Seer. Certainly people who have watched Rich Draft Online, and he's a big fan of Fathom Seer, but he said, I've never played against Rob Daugherty, but he seems like the kind of guy who always plays blue. So he made a spot decision to take Strangling Soot.
So he first picked a black card.
He first picked a black card.
He's been forcing red-blue. He's been having success with that.
Forcing red-blue, but you could be red-blue and still play Strangling Soot.
Sure.
I mean, so he gets that, and he gets past the next pack, and he just shuffles Tendrils of Corruption right to the top.
Sure. Well, he's in black at this point. He gets past Tendrils.
And I said,
was that the sign?
I said, is that a signal that Black's open? He said, no, but the second Tendrils of Corruption did, and he got a Tendrils of Corruption with the next pick.
Tendrils of Corruption is the next image.
So
that's what he saw staring back at him.
So Rob has 2 Tendrils and a Soot at that point.
Yep.
He's thinking about maybe going mono black. Now, what's interesting is Rob has made green picks to this point.
Daugherty's picking green.
Yeah, Rob has gone green.
Rich was actually gets wrong about that.
Yeah, no, totally wrong. And but Rich goes into green with the next pick. He took a Penumbra Spider, and then a Gemahide Sliver. So he's set up to be green-black.
Okay.
And then you would think, but he hasn't seen any of the black cards. You would think he's effectively cut off black.
Yeah, that's where my
pack.
part of the story comes in. If you flip to the next slide, you see Andre Mueller. He's sitting there now, 2 people downstream of Rich Hohen, and Andre had kind of a rough draft because he first picks Errant Ephemeron, decides that was the card that he wanted. Next pack, not a whole lot. He winds up taking a Subterranean Shambler out of a pretty weak pack. The 3rd pack comes to him, pretty weak. He takes that Prismatic Lens, that 3rd pick out of the pack. So Rich not the only one who could value that card highly. Then he takes another Subterranean Shambler, so he's kind of red, but he's got this Ephemeron. He takes a Think Twice 5th. The draft is just, the blue cards aren't coming. I talked to Andre after the draft, and he said, the problem was that blue was clearly overdrafted, was what he concluded.
Right.
And yeah, Luis Scott Vargas, that was the guy in between Rich and Andre.
He was forcing blue.
He took the Fathom Seer, he took all the blue. Andre can't get blue, and so...
Second pick Fathom Seer, that's like your dream at the Pro Tour.
Absolutely. So somewhere around pick 7, Andre's just like, I guess the best card in this pack is a Vampiric Sliver, and he actually moves into black. He goes Vampiric Sliver, 7, 8, 9. He takes sort of decent playable black cards. Nothing super exciting, but then the second set of packs, he gets totally paid off. Right, Rich has done all the hard work of cutting off black. Andre's sort of eaten out of the dumpster for a little bit, but then the second set of packs comes around and he's like, Tendrils of Corruption, Assassinate, Tendrils of Corruption. He had to ship a Tysis because he got 5th pick Kervek.
So it's funny, Rich got a 3rd Tendrils. I guess maybe in the space in between the 2 of them.
I think Luis opened it.
Luis opened it. And then, he gets a very late Tysis.
Right.
And
Kervek was in the
and
pack.
It just seemed like black was weak in that pack.
No, Andre was scooping it up.
Okay.
So, Rich moves into black, but 2 to his left was a guy in black. Took it all out of the second set of packs. Planar Chaos comes around. Black's not that good. So, Hohen's deck is decent but unspectacular.
He needed creatures going into the third pack. He took Mire Boas.
Okay.
He's got like 3 Mire Boas. Picked up 2 Dune Rider Outlaws, which I thought might be interesting with all his removal.
Okay.
You know, you play Dune Rider Outlaw, you remove a guy. Rich removed me from that argument really quickly, actually. He's like, I'm not even playing the Dune Rider Outlaws. My Assassinates don't get anyone out of the way.
True.
And Tendrils doesn't come online till at least turn 4.
Damn
and
you, Rich Hohen, and your practical logic.
Yeah. That's what you do need to be one of the key skills to be a great Magic player is practicality, right?
Definitely
You just need to, even more pragmatic, right? You just need to be like, okay, how realistic is this?
Yep.
This may be a really exciting play, but...
So if you guys want to watch this draft in more detail, most of you probably already know about this, but the draft viewer is all set up for this draft. We watched every pick that everybody at the table made. You can go look at the draft viewer, put yourself in whatever seat you want to have. Like, what would have happened if Rich had first picked the Fathom Seer?
Right.
You can watch the draft play out, see what might have happened there. So
one of the interesting things we've really been talking about this weekend, I think, is this dynamic in draft. Like what we said about cutting something off, and then having someone go into late white on an Ivory Giant, despite the fact that people are taking Celestial Crusader and Bendelish Cavalry over it, or other white cards, or going in late into black on a Vampiric Sliver, and then just cashing in on that second pack.
Yep.
So it's going to be really interesting. You can see that ripple effect of how those picks were made and what happened and who was doing what.
Yeah, so check out the draft viewer. We're going to be watching the action. 6 rounds to go. We'll find out. We're starting to hit the table. These guys got to put a run together. Top of the Swiss has got a little bit of room to give.
I'm told
it'll be a fun day.
I'm told to keep an eye on David Larson. Apparently he got the great deck at the table. So
interesting.
I don't know. I haven't seen the deck list yet, but people were just raving about his deck. So.
All right. Stay tuned to the Tournament Center. We'll have more coverage of Pro Tour Geneva.